All right, I believe we have a more personal, non-posted question that we're going to ask now. Richard, you said you wanted to share a situation.
Oh, you guys are all getting close.
We're here to judge you, Richard.
Hello and welcome back to another Geek Peek video. Today I'm joined by the Tribunal of Judges, I guess. We are going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be reading through some ttrpg, am I the asshole questions posted on various subreddits. We have a few that we've chosen from, selected by our well-respected panel here. As always, I am Cody. I will be hosting today. We can go around and introduce ourselves. Oren, go ahead and start.
Hello, I'm Oren. I am the one who is the newbie player. I don't have a lot of experience, so I have a fresh perspective.
My name is Richard, Dyson Decisions, if you want to find me on Instagram, and I have been playing for quite a few years now and DMing, so I like to think I have experience, but I don't know.
Hi, I'm Hendrik. Go by Bag of Ferret online, but I've been playing also for a few years and been around the block, but it's, experience varies. It could be applicable, could be useless. We'll find out.
And I also have a decent amount of experience. I've been playing and running games for some time. And again, we are not experts in any degree. As Oren mentioned, he is the newbie, quote-unquote, player. And the posts that we're going to be reading, we have just as much context as you. We don't know any of these people personally, as far as we're aware. So we're going to be just kind of extrapolating some information that we get just from the story. We're not the end-all be-all on if they are or are not the asshole. This is just four people's opinions on this particular situation. With that being said, let's start with, this is a post from the AITA_DND subreddit. Like I said, we have posts from a couple different subreddits, so I will call them out for each one if you would like to go and review them yourself. Am I the asshole for playing Druid and Cleric aggressively in battles and RP? A little context. I am new at D&D and I am in 4 campaigns. Don't worry, they're spread out. I have a Blood Hunter, Cleric, Druid, and Rogue. I'm learning what I like. In my IRL campaigns, I got pigeonholed into the healer for 2 campaigns. Yes, we were playing 2 at the same time, same people. Since I don't know how I want to play, I didn't feel strongly against it. I ended up with a Changeling Dream Circle Druid build with a Parent Trap background story. She lived in the Fey realm, so she is unconventional most of the time, and is currently disguised as an elder old witch. I've leaned into this and have been very successful. We have a paladin, a sorcerer, a barbarian, and a bard, They have already played and traveled together for a while, and I am the new addition. In fights, only the paladin plays forward, while mostly everyone stands back, attacking from as far as possible. Valid. But I don't play my druid that way, mostly because I see the paladin as all alone on the front lines, not 100% of the time, but often. So I adjusted my strategy. Since I picked a range of attack spells after the healing spells, I attack aggressively, and you could say I am down to fuck around and find out. I tend to have good perception and ascertain a lot of information about what's happening around us, or just don't know what else to do and just try something. During a fight, there was a spell that needed to be stopped, and the caster's death didn't end it, so I went into the circle and used what spells I could to force spell's victims out of the spell circle, and as a consequence, the crystals powering the spell exploded, losing 20 HP from my 66. Fight was over. I had help. This wasn't 100% solo once I started the process. The bard made a comment about, quote, that is why I play DPS from afar, and I just nodded and said okay, but I find it boring to stand in the back and try to cast with all but the paladin. Yes, the barbarian stays with the casters and throws their weapons, so I became a more aggressive player and embraced the level of chaotic fey. I can heal from afar, and they do have healing potions. My dream druid is new to the group, who told her she had to work with them, and I'm a little impatient, while the rest of the party plays very carefully. She currently has the goal to make sure that they succeed at completing their task because she was ordered to. That means finding the fast solution and taking the hit she will, blind attacking, guessing the enemy didn't move after casting a spell, visually blocking her view of them. Yeah, let's see if a bolt of lightning will break your spell. I don't care. She fights to be swift and risky. Yes, I'm still paying attention to my party's well-being and my own health. I know when to step back from a fight, just didn't have to. The comment the bard made about how DPS should be played has been sitting with me because they seem to not like my playstyle or may be annoyed with me? Am I the asshole for playing my druid more attack aggressive and not further back at a safer distance? You can play, I mean, it's your character, play it how you want. If you're still able to, and each class does have like a specific role to play, if you're still able to do that part of your character, of your class, while still embracing your own playstyle, I don't see how that's an issue. If you're running into the fight and you're constantly getting knocked down and need the rest of the party to pick you back up, then that could be an issue because then they're sacrificing other parts of their turn to help you out. But if you're able to still maintain your job, your class specific job in the party while maintaining your own personal playstyle, I don't see how that's an issue.
I feel like in terms of the story, like this OP is only annoyed, if I got it correctly, and if not, then please correct me. But I feel like they only mention that one of the players made a comment, not like the rest of the party. So, and what they said doesn't feel like it fuck ups the rest of the team. So, but I do feel like not the asshole, but maybe communicate more.
The one thing that I want to talk about specifically that bugs me is the comment about being pigeonholed into a healer. You don't need a healer in a party to have a successful party in a D&D campaign. There's many ways around that. So, like, if there's a pigeonholed feeling, I'm hoping that the DM isn't putting that on them more than anything, because I played in multiple, like, I played in a Dungeon of the Mad Mage when we had a warlock, a barbarian, and a rogue. No healers in sight, and we definitely still were able to play pretty successfully. So there's ways around it. Potions, helpers, that kind of thing. Otherwise, I don't think this is an asshole moment. Honestly, this person screams Emily Axford from NADPOD to me. It's just hyper aggressive. What, you're a lovable NPC and I hate everything you stand for? I'm gonna kill you. Like, I think it'd be fun to play with this person, honestly.
Yeah, I agree.
I always find it weird when people just classify cleric and druid as like, oh yeah, they're healer and background DPSs, when like druid has wild shape, which increases their health bar to ridiculous degrees. Clerics come in with heavy armor and a shield and can stand on the front line, and then they have a lot of AoE spells centered on them, which makes them really powerful as well. I think it's honestly weirder that the barbarian is in the back line.
Yeah, that's the part that really threw me off. Like, yes, you can throw weapons, you can do ranged attacks, sure, but your rage is, you're meant to be taking the damage at the front. You should be up there shoulder to shoulder with the paladin.
They got range and they have a D12 hit die, which gives them the highest health bar naturally. So it's like, that's weirder to me, but I'm not going to attack a person who's not on this, like, he's just like, but for this one, it feels like the new players, like, learning their spells and learning their abilities. Also, as a side note, the game is more built around having good usage of your action economy than, like, so it's like about denying your opponent as much action economy as possible while they're denying yours. So if you're using your healing spells, you're kind of like half denying your own action economy to try and bring up someone else, when most attack spells out damage healing spells anyways. Healing word, I'll admit, is pretty great. When you go down, bonus action, you're back up. That's beautiful.
So broken.
Chef's kiss. But like a healing hand, what's the other one? Cure
wounds, healing. Yeah, there's a couple of different healing spells.
Yeah, like that one, it's situationally can be great, but it's more niche than not. But it's okay for new players, I guess. But even then, it's like it kind of falls off very hard. Yeah. So it's like, honestly, if you've discovered that you have a playstyle of more damage heavy and it's working, that's fine. But yeah, as a new player, talk with other people, see their opinions, and try to put out your own opinions about their playstyles. If they're commenting on yours, that's open season to comment on theirs as well.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not a one-way street. So I definitely try to talk more and communicate, see what everyone's feeling.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, they're a newer player, and they're already in 4 different games
That's insane.
with a bunch of different classes. So they're still trying to figure out how they want to play, and learning that you can play in each game as a different character a completely different way. That was an issue I ran into when I first started playing, was no matter what my class was, the characters' like personality and playstyle were all kind of the same. It took me a couple of years before I was like, oh, I can still be like a charismatic, happy person and still stab you in the back as a rogue. Or I can be like a dark, brooding paladin that's very faithful to my deity.
Do we know how much time this group played together? Did they say that?
They did not mention how long they've been. They're in 2 groups of the same number of people, but they didn't say how long they've been playing together.
It does say that the Dream Druid is new to the group.
Yes.
So this was in a relatively early game in the campaign, assuming they continued playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it could mean that they already have like this developed dynamic that they are expecting this new player to just kind of like adhere to, instead of like getting their own vibe.
Yeah.
So that also might be like a thing that the group needs to gel together.
Yeah, I agree. It might just be like, yeah, the new recruit, seeing how everything meshes together.
Yeah, I would, like, from a DM for this game, it's like you brought up your game where it was 4 non-healers. I've DM'd multiple. I've never actually DM'd a cleric. Most people just stick with the other roles. So it's like, as a DM coming into it, it's like I never want to force someone to feel like, oh, I have to fill a role here. These people don't need a healer. I should be the healer. I never want someone to just come in and say, oh, I have 2 classes when there's like 12 or 13 at the start. It's like, I want you to have the full option. So it's like, if I have no clerics or healers or anything, I'll throw in more health potions into the game.
Yeah.
So it's like, talk to your DM as well and see if they think you're playing weird, or if you're playing off, then maybe you can work on that. But if your DM's saying it's fine, you're fine.
A lot of these end up coming up in like a session 0 type of situation where it's like you said, like if somebody wants to play a healer, a support class, go for it. More power to you. And I'm the same way. I'm looking to start a game now that has 2 sorcerers in it and no healer. So like it's fine. It's my job as the DM to make everybody have a good time and still make it survivable, tough but fair. So yeah, like you said, just throw in some more health potions, have an NPC follow them around for a little bit to help them out a little. Like there's dozens and dozens of options that could be like, you don't need to be pigeonholed into a healer class just because nobody else took that role.
Yeah.
Play the class you want to play.
And for the record, that NPC could become a lovable NPC that you can use for plot hooks down the road. I fell into that. I got real lucky. They love Wilbur, the halfling roguish type that heals them, and
Nice.
they want to keep him around. So when he gets kidnapped, oh, there's the adventure.
There you go. So I think collectively
That's
we
awesome.
agree, not the asshole, just a little bit more communication maybe.
Yeah. Talk to your DM. Always.
Yeah, talk to your DM.
And that's always the solution in any Am I the Asshole? Communicate, just talk.
Yeah. Our next one comes from RPG Horror Stories.
You've...
This one is interesting. I read through this a few times, and I'm going to wait for your guys' responses before I reply. Am I the asshole? DM ruins role-playing by having player character commit mass murder. Hello there. I've been playing in a campaign with my friend, the DM, and their girlfriend, a female elf sorceress, and myself, a male human fighter. We had initially had another friend play before he dropped out due to having another child and being a father. So right now we're down to 1 DM, 2 players. In our most recent session, I had leveled up and took the telepathic feat from Tasha's because the elf sorceress had psionics and was able to communicate telepathically with the party, so I thought it would be cool for my character to have this power, but be unable to control it, taking lessons from the elf to hone the skills so that he could use it appropriately. Role-playing. Side note, I love that when you try to do something that's like rules as written mechanically, but turn it into like something you have to work at in-game to actually achieve instead of just magically leveling up and getting this. That's just my side note there. However, I did not take into account that the DM would literally have anyone I tried to contact roll a saving throw. If they failed, they would die. including a young child that the party had taken in and one of my character's parents, causing a rift between the party characters and setting my character up to face prison time after being tracked down by the DM PC, an investigator crime solver. I ended up in prison where my character would be stabbed in their sleep. Fighting back and ultimately succumbing to his bloodlust, he is a werewolf, and this ended combat with the assassin returning to his cell and locking himself away. My character would end up ultimately meeting with the BBEG, who would cast Feeble Mind on them, reducing them to an incoherent idiot who could no longer communicate intelligently. Complete and utter overkill. Am I the asshole for wanting to quit this game, as nothing bad seems to happen to the rest of the party, at least not of this magnitude?
What the frick, I guess.
Bring out the double hockey sticks.
This... Yeah.
This is a complete train wreck.
Yeah.
Now, as we've mentioned before, talk to your DM, but honestly, I don't know if you're going to get an answer you're going to like, and if you don't, it's okay to walk away. I'll say that now.
There's definitely other tables, yeah.
Yeah.
Not every friend group works together, and not every dungeon group works together, so it's always respect yourself and walk away when you think you should.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, as a new player, I would be like, I would ask myself or try to understand, like, what makes a DM make these kinds of decisions, because it feels like it's personal, if that makes sense.
That was my thought.
One of the top comments is, bruh, what the F? Did you F his mom or something? This is some serious hate boner shit he did to your character.
Yeah, like, it's either A, the DM really hates you, and in which case whatever answer you're going to get for them is going to gaslight the heck out of you, or the DM has a story in mind, and
it's very traumatic, dark story.
And it's one of the worst things because it's only in their mind. This is a shared story, and if it's only in their mind, it's not going to go well. So, truly, you can try and talk to your DM and see what's up. And, hey, if you need to know where this is going to keep with it, they should be able to tell you. Like, keeping a secret and doing big surprises is great and all, but if you're truly not enjoying it right now and want to walk away, your DM has to give something up in that scenario. Yeah. If they're not going to give you anything, then respect yourself and go ahead and walk away. This is wild.
Yeah, I also feel like if you as a player reached the point where you are thinking of walking away, and not specifically because you don't gel with the company, like your companions around the table, but it's the DM, then I feel like this is like too late. The time for conversations is over. Just walk away.
Yeah. So there's a certain amount of, like, player agency is the biggest thing with TTRPGs. You want to make sure that your players have the tools and the options to make choices, and if they make bad choices, that's fine. If they make good choices, that's fine. There is a small amount of player agency that you as the DM do need to take away in certain moments, and it's always a small percentage. Like, something like this, especially without having talked to the player beforehand. Like, so this just recently happened in the game. I de-leveled a character back down to level 1 because they had upset their goddess. Brave. And she stopped supporting them. I thought it was a really cool idea, but outside of the game, I talked to the player directly. I was like, hey, this is what I want to do. Is that okay? Or do you feel like that's too unfair? He was like, no, it's going to suck for a couple sessions, but I can earn her trust back and come back up to the level. I was like, yeah, that's the whole point. She's setting you on, like, a personal side quest. We're going to reset you back to level 1. They were only level 3 at the time, so it wasn't like a huge deficit.
Okay.
But it wasn't Curse of Straw, so literally every hit point matters. But I talked to that person beforehand to make sure that they were okay with this as well. That's what this conversation should have been several what the fucks ago. Yeah. Like, if you're going to alter a mechanic that's been around for years in the game and then have it just kill people if they fail a saving throw, and especially children, that is definitely something that should have been mentioned prior to them taking this feat. The feat that doesn't say anything about killing anybody now can just instantly kill somebody. No, that's definitely not the asshole.
So here's a question, because I remember in the story they said that the character who was doing the murdering was a werewolf, right? Is that what I heard?
So the end of this post, it gets a little confusing. It looks like they did their telepathic feat and some people died because of it, so they got arrested. I ended up in prison where my character would be stabbed in their sleep, fighting back and ultimately succumbing to their bloodlust because he was a werewolf. That ended the combat with the assassin that was trying to stab them in their sleep, I'm assuming, returning to their cell and locking themselves away.
That just sounds so chaotic, honestly.
It's very all over the place, yeah.
Yeah. Also, major red flag that nothing's happening to the other player. It's mostly happening to you. So if it's centered on you, there's a problem between you and the DM that needs to be figured out for sure.
Yeah.
Or just walk away.
When I was running one of my homebrew campaigns, one of my character's backstories was, in fact, that he massacred a bar because he had some kind of mind control happening on him. He left the game before I was able to fully realize his story, unfortunately. But we had conversations about it beforehand. We actually had like a 20-minute roleplay session where I actually had him roleplay out that scene as he was running away from the guards and everything. I tried to take it seriously, and I wanted to make sure it was something that he was involved in actively, because I don't like the idea of taking away agency personally. But I do agree with Cody that there are instances where you gotta rein it back a little bit, because they can't have free rein to do everything.
And again, it's what we've said a dozen times already. Just talk to your DM, like Oren mentioned. In this situation, I feel like the talking ship might have already sailed. One of the top comments I see here is, it sounds like he's getting jealous of your role play with his girlfriend. And then a couple people kind of piggybacking off that, like either that or he thinks you're stealing her unique thing, the telepathy, and is trying to stop that in the shittiest way possible. It does feel like, so when you get to like, there's a certain size of D&D group that's the perfect number, and that varies by person and group, of course, but playing D&D with just two people is incredibly intimate because you devote literally 50% of your time to either player. Mm-hmm. And regardless of any real world romantic or physical feelings that any of these people have for each other, it can kind of get lost in the sauce when you're role playing, especially if the characters are romantically involved or there is some flirtatious behavior at the table. It could very easily lead to jealousy. That's definitely not an excuse for anything that's happening here, but I could see that being one of the causes from the DM to want to like have it out for this character.
That makes sense. That sounds like, I mean, if this DM is a jealous boyfriend, then
exactly, yeah.
I mean, it is possible for sure. It doesn't say how old they are in the.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't list anything about their ages.
That could also factor into it, because if they're like in their early 20s, they're basically children.
So that leads actually into the next one that we're going to read is about people in their early 20s. So,
oh man, this only gets better.
Yeah, this one I wanted to include this one because again, it's younger people. I know we're all in our like mid 30s and beyond. I don't want to age ourselves too much.
Hey, I just turned 30. I'm only just 30.
Sorry. The young one in the group, Hendrik, is 30. I read this over with my partner beforehand because I wanted to get somebody else's opinions on it, because it focuses more on the people instead of like the actual game.
Okay.
This is from the AITAH subreddit, which is different from the Am I the Asshole subreddit, because those both exist. Am I the asshole for demanding that my boyfriend end his odd gender-bending Dungeons and Dragons role-playing relationship? My female 22 female boyfriend 23 male has played a game of Dungeons & Dragons as part of a group of 6 or 7 people for the past few years. I don't play and have no interest, but he was talking about his character yesterday and how she leveled up. I said, you play a woman? Pardon me. He said he plays an elf woman. I found it weird, but whatever, it's roleplay. Apparently another guy plays a female character as well. Then he volunteered that another player, 21-year-old female, plays a human male warrior. What miffed me was that he said that in the game, his character is in a relationship with her character. He said something about it being cute, that he always gets him, her character, out of trouble. I said I was uncomfortable with him being in any kind of relationship, even an imaginary one. He said it's built into the lore of their game and even a big part of the game. He went on to tell me that he and the player never hang out outside of the game. They don't sit next to each other at the game table, and he has no attraction to her. He said any love scene they have is fade to black, which apparently means that they don't roleplay the love scenes, they're just implied. Very common thing to have in D&D games, by the way. I don't see how that is any better. He also insisted that the gender of their characters makes it okay because it shows how much it's just roleplay. I asked him if the other player had a significant other. He claims to not know, but, quote, doesn't even think she's straight. I tried to see it from his perspective. I really did. I just can't accept it. It seems gross and wrong to me and feels like cheating. I gave him an ultimatum to either break up with her within the game or lose me, his choice. He got upset with me and told me I was being unreasonable. I ended up leaving, and we haven't talked since. They are supposed to play this evening. I hope he does the right thing because I really love him. Am I being the asshole?
Yes.
Quick side note. Yes, absolutely, 100%. Quick side note, this was posted 2 years ago, and there's no follow-up edit made. There are some comments from OP in the comments section. Going off Hendrick's point, they are both very young, 22 and 23 years old. So there is that level of maturity. Sorry to our younger audience. It's true. I'm not mature at all, but also there's a level with relationship immaturity at that age that definitely happens. What bothers me the most about this post is that the way she phrases it, it's an odd gender-bending relationship. There's levels of weird, sort of homophobia built into her being uncomfortable about this.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like he's playing a female character and then one of his male friends is playing a male character and they're in a relationship together. Not that that would be odd, but that would be, I guess, more understandable for somebody to have a problem with it. But this stems from you're just role-playing, you're playing a game, you're writing a story together. It would be the same thing as if I was an actor and had a romantic relationship with a female character for a TV show. Would that upset my partner?
Yeah.
It's not real. It's all fake.
What it really comes down to is, they're younger, like we've said. So with that, with age comes kind of a comfort with yourself and a comfort with your partner. At least, well, that's what you hope for. If you don't, it might be some red flags. But
yeah,
I would be curious to see her political views, that kind of thing too, because I imagine there's a couple things kind of making me feel like there's a certain degree that they're going here. And it makes me sad to hear that. But as somebody that's played female characters, as someone who's played gay male characters, straight characters, it's all theater. If you're getting too invested and it becomes a real thing, I personally feel like that's a problem unless all parties are in on it and are okay with it. So
yeah, absolutely.
In this case, I do feel like it's an overreaction, but it's an overreaction for somebody that doesn't understand the game and thinks of it as, oh, you're role playing with this person means you're mentally cheating. So for her, it's justified. For him, he thinks she's crazy.
Yeah,
I think for him is the same, because he says that he doesn't have any interaction with this person outside of the game. He doesn't know her. He doesn't know her life. Doesn't know anything about her outside of the game. They don't even sit next to each other. The scenes are not even played out. It's like fade to black.
Yeah.
So I think for him is the same as having a romantic relationship in a video game. there's no like a person on the other end. It's like, okay, so I have played like multiple female characters in video games, for example, and I remember one of my funnest, I think most fun is funnest a word? I don't know.
No, that
The most fun romance I ever played was being a female player in Dragon Age Origins and romancing Alistair, and that was like the best story ever. Um, is that like something that a significant other would have a problem with? I guess not. I mean,
I'm gonna have to disagree with you slightly, Oren.
okay.
Video games are scripted. There's most usually like 3 to 5 choices. Like I'm trying to finish Veilguard right now, and I'm romancing Tosh, and there's so many options in there. But it's going to move forward regardless, and you can kind of gauge what's going on. D&D, you still have some free choice. There's still your own personal choice, and he is interacting with her. So you can't say he's innocent per se, but what I will say is most of the time people, when they have a character that they're putting into D&D, they're emulating something from their life that they want to interact with or that's missing. He's interacting with another character to kind of maybe get that closeness that maybe he's not getting at home, and maybe that's part of the problem that he's running into, is he doesn't even realize that. Sorry, psychology background, that's where my head goes.
That's fine.
No, I get you. It's definitely the want to feel something. Even in video games, you don't have to pursue romantic relationships. It's optional.
True.
So, I mean, you pursue it because you want to engage in that.
I think my best piece of advice for the poster themselves in this scenario, it seems like you have less, it's not so much an issue with like them role playing, but the fact that they're having this interaction with another female, presumably. So I would say either A, try to get more confidence in yourself, or B, sit in for a session or two. Maybe come in and just play like a short-term 3-session character in this story. Like just try to learn what it is and understand what it is they're doing, and like try to have that better connection with it so you can get more comfortable with it, with this kind of interaction. Because like if you don't understand any of it at all, because it doesn't really sound like you do, I think you need some firsthand experience and try to just build this connection with maybe this is a new thing you can share with your partner, who knows. But for now, learn about it, learn about the hobby, understand the hobby, and this would help you.
And since I'm agreeing that you need to join the game and probably sit in on a session, as usual, the answer here is talk with your DM and have a conversation, and, you'll be fine.
I'm gonna slightly disagree with them sitting in on the session. They did mention they have no interest in it. I would say maybe watch a game, watch the game, just hang out in the background, keep your opinions to yourself during the course of the game to not disrupt anything.
Yeah.
Maybe not actually sit in and play if they're not inclined to play. I am of the personal belief that everybody should try D&D at least once before they say they're not interested in it. But if they don't want to play, I would say just sitting there and hanging out for a few hours would be enough to actually determine that this is not an issue for my partner to have this relationship in game. Well, since Richard mentioned having a psychology background, this was something that my partner mentioned, is that the boundaries of, or like the definitions of cheating in relationships vary from couple to couple, and it could be something as obviously like, engaging in sexual activity with somebody else, cheating, sure. Other couples might be into that, but if it's something like if they are developing feelings for each other in game that are bleeding into the real life, even if they're not physically interacting on that, that could still be in certain relationships viewed as cheating. So I understand that hesitancy on them continuing the relationship, but this does come back to they're both in their early 20s. They haven't really developed those boundaries and that sense of self of, I'm comfortable enough with my partner going out and doing this thing with their friends for a couple hours every couple of weeks. It's not a reflection on me or myself. It's just them having fun.
Yeah, so there's also like a measure of trust going into it. I mean, if you don't trust your partner enough in that way, that could also lead to disagreements about stuff like that. And also, what I wanted to say earlier was there are edits on YouTube from Dimension 20 that people took every scene where Brennan Lee Mulligan, as an NPC, tried to hit it off with any Zakoyama character, both in straight relationships, married, and in game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so funny. And that just shows that this doesn't have to bleed into real life. It could just be fun.
No, it doesn't. No. Yeah, it's fun. And like I said, if it's not your cup of tea to not engage with it, that's fine. But know that it is just a game.
Most of the time.
Most of the time. There's some real...
Until it takes over your life and tries
Oh,
to...
yeah.
Once the therapy hits, when you realize, oh, I'm working through something mid-session. Like,
Wait a second, my dad never loved me?
Let's flip the script. Maybe he is emotionally cheating on you.
Yeah, very true. Might be.
It's possible.
In which case, you're going to find out sitting in and watching a session, and maybe that's the time when you figure out, oh, maybe this relationship isn't for you. Both things can happen. So I would definitely say, like, sit in and watch a session or two. See if you truly are uncomfortable, maybe that's something you should figure out on your own.
Right. So this one is, I believe, our most recent story.
Lovely.
This is 27 days ago on the Am I the Asshole ttrpg subreddit. Am I the asshole for wanting to call out GM on lies and inconsistencies?
No.
No. I'm gonna make the call now. If the GM is lying about something, you're probably not the asshole. But I digress. Hello. Just wanted to get outside opinions on a matter that has come up in a recent game. I don't believe I'm the asshole, but you're asking the question, in this, but I'm unsure if I would be if I just called out the GM openly and possibly kill a chance at other players playing D&D. Story so far. This is an online game that was started by the DM. We initially had 4 players at the start of our session 0. Character stuff hasn't really happened yet, so I'll just name players, altered of course. We have Try, a player who hasn't played in a long bit. Time, who seems quiet and very worried about timing. Rainbow, who is very invested but getting put off by info we found out. Last, we have Ball as the last player. At first, Ball wasn't part of the game, so it was just 4 of us plus the DM. At our first session 0, the DM stated he was just seeing if we meshed well and seeing if we were all going to be approved for the game. Most thought we were approved and characters were fine. Session 0.2, we didn't meet due to the GM trying to add a 5th player who couldn't show. Session 0.3, so many red flags already. Session 0.3, we did meet, but that player was still absent. The GM took this time to ask us if we wanted lore dumped on us for his homebrew world. Basically came down to just me and one other player pulling the DM's teeth to get info about our home region, as others dipped early. Session 0.4 was the session that just happened 3 days ago. The GM said we were going to meet a new player, and 5 minutes before session start, a new person was added to the group. This was Ball. When the previous 5th player was still in the game and not kicked, we all assumed that this was the new player we were meeting. This one's all over the place and so bad already. I'm not even halfway through this post.
Oh, wow.
This session was treated similarly to the first session 0, with more lore being discussed. A lot of our questions seem to be answered more on the fly, even though the GM has stated this is a complete world and the game was going to be serious. So serious that any animal or beast-like race is not allowed because they are joke races. Okay? Once we did get some info and hung out with Ball, the GM said that we will be meeting bi-weekly when every form of communication said weekly to us original 4. We tried to fit Ball into the game with work around, and Ball was willing to try things. Conversation about Ball only able to do bi-weekly, which the GM told him the game was ended with, let's give it a week or 2 before deciding. That was the GM's end of the conversation. Okay. The GM also called out me for being the reason we now have to do weekly, even though 3/4 of us had major issues with the game being bi-weekly. Ultimately, the GM decided to kick Ball out of the group, which is fine. The lie. Here is where this kicked off. When Ball was kicked, I asked the GM in voice, "Did you talk to him and tell him why?" The GM said yes. Rainbow got a message from Ball asking if he was just kicked. This prompted Rainbow to let me know the GM was lying. Shortly after the GM left, I had a discussion with Rainbow, Ball, and Try. We found out a lot of lies about what races were allowed, about who was accepted first, about what races were allowed, about all of us not being actually accepted on first session 0 because the DM was thinking of kicking 2 of us to add his friends, and more. Rainbow got told they could not play a race that another player is actively playing as with no explanation as to why. We are not questioning a lot of this GM traits and are worried that if he is willing to lie this much and also be extremely lazy about giving lore for his setting, as he isn't even the only one working on it, can we really trust and expect a good game from him? The GM isn't new, but on the newer side of things, to bad GM traits could be worked on. It's the personality traits that worry us most. I want to call him out in the server among all the players to see his response, or if he just continues to show red flags, but fear that would make me the asshole. This feels like, just going off of the lingo...
Run.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. The call's coming from inside the house. This feels like, with the verbiage of being kicked and approved and the multiple session zeros, this feels like a paid TTRPG website situation. And if that's the case, if you're paying for a game, there does need to be a level of professionalism, I feel. As a professionally paid DM, there does need to be some professionalism involved, and this is 100% red flags across the board. I understand scheduling conflicts and things might have to shift from weekly to bi-weekly. That happens, I get it, but just the sheer point of lying directly to people's faces about they can play this thing, they can't play this thing's going to happen, not telling a player a reason you're removing them from a game is 100% an asshole thing to do. There's a ton of red flags on this, and as Rich mentioned, just run. Don't waste any more time on 17 more session zeros.
I feel like this DM is on a power trip, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, do what I say exactly as I say it, or you're out.
As I say, for me, it's the inconsistent rules. Like, if the guy's going to be lying to, like, hold secrets for the game, that's one thing in my head. But inconsistent rulings on what, types of races certain people get to play shows me probably a degree of favoritism. And if it's not a paid game, let's assume it's not a paid game and it's just a random Discord group gathering or something. That makes the wanting to add the friends thing make more sense in my head, but none of it excuses the actions of the DM. This is not okay. I would leave this game 100%. This is one of the few times I will say communication is not going to help you because the guy doesn't care.
Yeah.
Or girl, whatever this person is. They clearly don't care about their players' feelings.
As a message to the DM of whoever is DMing this, you can pull weird and funky stuff in a session 0 with close friends who you can handle it. If you're going to play with strangers on the internet, you got to have a bit more of an honest baseline because they have to know who you are and you don't know who they are. You don't know their comforts. You don't know what they like and don't like or what they respond to. So it's like you can't pull all this weird stuff with like everyone kicking random people saying these people get this information, these people get that information. That's too much to do with strangers who just think, I'm gonna go in and roll some dice. Like that's what anyone who plays D&D with a stranger on the internet thinks is gonna happen. You can't just be like, I'm gonna go in, get gaslit out of and hopefully maybe roll a die. It's like that's too much. Reel yourself back in. Have one clean session 0 and not... How many did we get up to? 5?
I believe 0.5 was where it ended at.
Oh, yeah.
0.4 for sure.
So,
yeah, and I think they had mentioned needing to have another one because another player was removed.
like to the poster of the video, if you've discussed it with maybe the other players, I don't know who's been kicked and still in this at this point. I need a flow chart for that. But like, if you've discussed it with them and the group of you want to just bring the DM and just sit them down and ask them questions, and if you don't like the answers, then yeah, walk away. Or walking away at this point is also fully justifiable.
Also, alternatively, you can boot the DM too. Get a new DM. One of you guys could take over. It's just, there's so many resources out there now to help you learn to DM that
Yeah,
it
all
seems
very
good.
feasible.
There are also so many other like small things that paint like a really bad picture. Like, what the hell is joke races? I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, like, what does that even mean? Like, let players play what they want, and also like lying, for example, to conceal information. You wouldn't like. I don't know if you would do that as experienced DMs, but wouldn't you at least like give a player the ability to roll like with a really hard difficulty to maybe get some kind of clue about information you're trying to conceal from them if they did figure it out?
so what that section is reading to me is the inconsistencies in the lore that the GM was handing out to the players. And I think that's a fine line to tread on. The way that I view it, at least, is like lore is common knowledge in the world, in the setting. Like, I may not know a lot about China, but I know it exists and I know some generalities about it. But it's not like, so the way that I view it is lore is the stuff that's happened in the world, and then like talking to the players directly on like their backstory, or if they're from a certain region that the other players are not from, they would know more. But there's a difference between lore of the world and then the story you're currently doing.
Yeah.
That's how I view it. And with the inconsistencies in the lore, that shouldn't really be happening without a vast explanation on your character was trapped in a bunker for 30 years, so you don't know what happened, or something strange like that. Outside of that, the lying to your players is never a good idea, and it's not fun for anybody.
The lore also screams not, I don't want to say the word incompetent, but not the best DMing skills, because this is a homebrew world, right? So in most pre-made worlds, all pre-made worlds, like Eberron and Faerun, they all have just books and books of lore that's already there, that's readily accessible. You're doing a homebrew, there's things that your players are asking you haven't thought about. You make it up on the spot, and then if you're like me and you forget to take notes after the session, whoosh, it's gone. And the next, how many sessions years did they have? He was making it up on the spot again, and it just made it really inconsistent. And it could be that maybe he wasn't lying necessarily as much as he just wasn't doing a good job of taking notes on what he'd said previously. I'm guilty of that. I admit that. And
For
trying
sure.
to get better.
I think not necessarily, I wouldn't call it a lie, but the GM stating that it was a complete world, that no, 100%.
That's not a complete
like you
world.
mentioned, if you take all of the lore of the D&D world based over the 50 years the game's been available, there's still going to be inconsistencies. There's still going to be towns and cities that weren't fully fleshed out. There is no complete world.
Yeah, I remember there's a GM roundtable with Matt, Mercer, Brennan, and Abria, where
The trifecta,
yeah, they were having their GM table talking about Exandria, Mercer's whole world, a critical role, and they had the book in the middle, the source book that showed a whole bunch of things. They also had a Wildmount book, and like partway through the story, it's like Abria was like, "So is this world done, Matt?" And Matt immediately just said no. And just shut it down. I was like, no. And then Brennan blew up about that. It's like, this is on the table, 400 pages. It's still not done. Yeah. So it's like, if one of the most well-known and treated as one of the best GMs in the world is sitting there saying my world's not done and I've been working on this for over a decade is we're look, have some humility. Have some humility.
And as a complete side note, Wildmount, I'm not a critter. I haven't really ever invested time in watching Critical Role, but Wildmount is the best D&D book I have bought. Outside of like some supplemental stuff, it is so fleshed out. There's so much information, so much you can do with it. It is crazy to me. The other ones don't even compare.
Yeah, I would say not the asshole for calling out the GM.
No.
I also wouldn't say that it's not even like being the asshole. It's just right now you're still at session 0.4 or 0.5. You're still just looking for clarification on the expectations.
Yeah, and if like you also have all of the other players on your side.
If you've already been communicating behind the GM's back about the situation,
and everyone finds it weird, it's not a you problem. It's the DM. You got to figure out what this DM wants, and if it doesn't meet your standard of what you want, then yeah, just go ahead and leave. And like I said, these other 4 players seem to be on your seem to be on a similar wavelength. Maybe one of you could pick up a DMing and play with each other instead. Cut that guy. Cut the problem out. You 4 don't seem to have a problem. Cut the problem out.
So this is an old one. This is from 6 years ago.
Oh, lovely.
From the Am I the Asshole subreddit. Am I the Asshole D&D edition? Okay, so I'm conflicted about something, so I'm doing what any reasonable person would do, asking a bunch of strangers on the internet their opinion.
Of course.
So here's the deal. A group of friends and I meet semi-regularly to play Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition together. For me, getting into D&D was mostly a no-brainer since I'd get to play a role-playing game regularly with my old high school friends up north. I regularly make the trips up north to go see them and play. It says here they travel 160 kilometers each way, or roughly 100 miles in American. I would do this on my free weekends to see old friends and have fun. Gradually, new people have been added to the group to bolster numbers and make adventures more interesting. However, even more recently, some good or bad things have happened. We finally got to a complex part of the campaign and had to call it a day in the middle of a long puzzle dungeon our DM put together. To their credit, this dungeon the DM built is incredible in its design. A lot of love and care has gone into building the scenario for us, the players, to play. Now the thing that makes me wonder, am I the asshole? I recently had to give a firm no to our DM that I would not be able to make this most recent session to continue our quest as I'm having some dental work done. This precludes me from being able to make the 2+ hour drive up to see the team and continue playing. Conversations with my friend at the DM ended with them just saying, shame. Now I hear from another one of my close friends in the same D&D group, this person plays a Tabaxi Rogue, that the DM plans to go ahead anyway. Am I the asshole for being a bit upset that the DM is allegedly continuing our adventure without me, without asking if I'm okay with it? I feel like a bit of an ass saying don't play without me. I mean, it's not exactly fair for me to hold back the entire party either, but I feel like the DM continuing the adventure without me, without even asking me, is a little asshole-ish. Or am I the asshole for asking him to wait an extra week or two? Or expecting to be consulted before the campaign continues? I feel like I'm in the right in this situation, but I've been wrong before, so I'm interested to hear public opinion. As a person that's made... So recently, within the past couple of years, I changed states, and I was still actively involved in an in-person game at the time. I, as frequently as I could, made those trips back. For me, it was closer to 4 hours, 5 hours of drive time. I still made the trip back to make those sessions. But if something came up and I was the player that had to cancel, then I was the player that had to cancel. Working out a D&D group with a bunch of adults is a pain in the ass. Everybody has schedules. People have jobs, kids. This person has a doctor's appointment. If it was a last-minute cancellation and you were upset that they kept playing, I would call you the asshole in this situation. If you gave enough time to try and reschedule the game, especially because it was mid-session, and they kept going without you, then I would say that you're not the asshole. It's vague on how far out they had to cancel their plans. But if there was enough time to reschedule, I would feel you're justified in asking for that reschedule. Because 100% guaranteed that's happened before. from other players or the DM, because that's life. Games get canceled the last minute and it sucks. Games get planned 4 weeks out and then get canceled 2 weeks out. That also sucks. I feel like in this situation, it's your group, and especially because you're the one that's from this post, you're the only one making that rigorous of a travel time for D&D. They should be a little more sensitive to your scheduling conflicts. But if this next date is the only date anybody can play for several weeks, then that sucks. But I would say you're not the asshole for asking for that special accommodation, but I'll also say that the DM is not the asshole for still continuing the game. Again, talk to your DM, and the DM should have talked more to the player. That's the running theme for this video, is just communication is key.
Yeah, this one really does feel like where it is just talk to each other more, and on both sides, it's like feel free to ask your DM, hey, is there any chance you could delay the game? I really want it, because clearly they're invested. 100 miles isn't nothing for
no, a 2-hour drive time to sit and roll dice for 4 hours.
Yeah, it's like, so it's like you're clearly invested, and it's okay to ask your DM, hey, especially if there's still time. Like if this was tomorrow game, then you're not gonna. There's only so much we can do. But if you're a week or 2 weeks out, ask your DM, hey, is there any chance you could just run a one shot instead, a silly one shot or something? Let someone else try something, and like I really want to complete this puzzle and get there when I can. And it's like communicate. If your DM still says no, then it's a hurtful situation, I will admit, but it is like they are within their right to run the game, even to because everyone is invested, even if you're clearly maybe a little more. Everyone is still also invested, and the DM wants to keep this going, keep a momentum going. Because I've been there more than once where it's like I let momentum go to try to accommodate people's schedules, and then 6 months pass and no one comes back around because I let the schedule go.
It just fizzles out, yeah.
So from there, I'm a little more hesitant to just say, yes, I'm dropping the game. I'll drop the game for this session. We'll be back in another week or two. And it's like, no, that happens all the time.
Another
to
week
anyone's
or two
game.
becomes 3 and 4, and then 5 and 6, and then you start a new campaign. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, it is a hurtful situation, but make sure you at least talk about it. It goes a lot easier for everyone if everyone talks about it. So the DM could reach out to you, but you can also reach out to the DM, talk about it. Things might not work out, but at least you have the comfort of you're being heard and you understand their situation just as much as they understand yours.
I didn't have a lot of experience with scheduling and stuff like that, but I can say at least for the games that we run for this channel, scheduling was a big part of it. And it was always really like, at least from my end, I always try to be flexible as much as I could. And it does come down to communication, as we already said before. And I mean, it's not like that situation is a little bit different because we are talking about driving a long distance, but there are other solutions that people could maybe be fine with. For example, what we are doing right now, doing like a Zoom call instead of like I don't know, driving to meet up if it doesn't hold water, as it were. But yeah, I feel like it does come down to, as we said, communication.
And that was why I wanted to mention this one being from, I'm pointing to the screen that it's on. You guys can't see that screen. This is why I wanted to mention this one was posted 6 years ago. Like, COVID pushed a lot of D&D games to be online, and those tools did develop quite rapidly at that point. This post is pre-COVID, but even then, you could very easily get a laptop and a webcam set up. Maybe there weren't the tools to be rolling those dice digitally, but you could still be there in some sort of aspect and see and hear what's going on. It doesn't have to be through Roll20 or D&D Beyond or anything like that. Just tape a phone to a chair. Like, Discord's been around for a long time. Skype, Zoom, those have been around for longer than, the before times. So like there were, like Oren said, there are other digital ways you still could have made that session. without having to make that drive that you weren't able to do medically.
Okay, but don't subject yourself to Skype.
All right, that's fair.
I mean, Discord was a thing in 2019, wasn't it? So, I mean, you're already driving out there, you know, you have the dice, so just get on Discord, and even if you don't have a camera, just use that to talk and start there. It's something. My thought here is I'm going to take the DM's perspective. They are running a game with what sounds like a large number of people. I think the sweet spot personally is between 4 and 6, as long as you're not going too high on that or dipping too low. Usually it's pretty, I don't want to say balanced, but it works pretty well.
It's pretty well balanced
for the most part. As soon as you start losing players, like I used to run a 6-person game. If one person didn't show up, didn't respond to messages, I'm still running the game. 2 people, and then once it gets to 3 people, that's when I start talking to players like, are you guys wanting to wait? Do you guys want to move forward? Because the players that are at the table are the ones that I'm going to have to move forward with one way or the other, typically. Now, this is a situation where this person could have communicated ahead of time. And as a DM, I would take that information and I would ask the group. I'd be like, hey, so-and-so can't make it. They really want to be there for it. Are you guys okay waiting? The downside with that is that's the slow spiral of doom that happens to every single D&D game. As soon as you start putting things off, it's a great way to just never have it happen.
Yeah.
And that, I mentioned it at one point. I was in Dungeons of the Mad Mage, and that got rescheduled and rescheduled and rescheduled. We got all the way to level 17, never finished it.
I had a Tomb of Annihilation game that apparently, according to our DM, was 1 session away from completion, and it's been sitting there for 5-6 years now. The
game I was traveling back to Ohio for, I believe we had 1 session left of Wild Beyond the Witchlight.
Oof.
And that's still, last session is still sitting there because, like Rich said, we started with 4 players and the DM, and that was fine. But then for personal reasons, one of the players had to leave permanently, so it was just 3 players. And again, you get down to like just 2-person D&D, it gets very intimate, and that might not be an appropriate situation for everybody. Some people can't handle that direct of a spotlight. They like the comfort of the group. Mm-hmm. So like that game's still sitting unfinished. I have my rogue goblin that is definitely not modeled after the ball at all. Sounds like Uncle Stan from Gravity Falls. Just sitting there trying to, like, he found his lost item. But yeah, no, I would say in this situation there isn't an asshole. It's like you said, the DM has the responsibility to the whole group. And you can try to make those accommodations for everybody in the group as best you can. But the game must go on, and if it was just this person canceling and 2 other people, I get it. But if there's still like 4 or 5 other players ready to go, and this was like a last minute cancellation, I don't see. Yeah. It's like Hendrik said, it sucks, but it happens. You don't make the session, you'll be there next time.
We need to get you both to finish those games.
Yeah, it's never gonna happen.
I'll text my brother-in-law.
I don't know what happened to the DM. I still talk to the other players, but the DM disappeared. Apparently, according to another player, the DM's got life stuff, and so it's just never happening.
I get it.
Oh, wow.
There was one time, years later, he tried to call us all back, and we all showed up for the session, but the DM never did, and that was the saddest thing ever.
Breaks my heart.
We just sat there for 3 hours just chatting, and then we're like, okay, the DM's not going to be here, and we all just...
That feels like you want that continuation to a TV series, but it's never happening, and it ended on a cliffhanger.
I need Firefly back, damn it.
Kyle XY, I'll never know what the brother was about.
Oh, wow. That's a throwback. What happened to my belly button? All right. I believe we have a more personal, non-posted question that we're going to ask now. Richard, you said you wanted to share
you guys are all getting close.
We're here to judge you, Richard.
Do what you must. I bring to you guys a story of a campaign in the land of Strahd. This was for reference. I don't personally like vampires, so my goal in the third time I was playing in Strahd was to have a more chaotic character that was the one that fucked around and found out. I 100% had the expectation that this character would die making it, and I was okay with that. Not what happened here. This is a case of splitting the party, and am I the asshole for causing this? And I'll try to keep the spoilers less spoilery. So if you've played in Barovia in the Curse of Strahd, you know that if you start at level 1, you go through a house, and we skipped that entirely because nobody wanted to play it in the group. I see Strahd.
Strahd's here to judge you as well.
We're all just pulling it out. Now, this character was a arcane trickster rogue, was a half-elf, and was very much loyal to the Fae idea in their background. And in hindsight, I realized I played them like a Kenderfolk. Little different. But the idea is this character had no idea of personal boundaries and personal ownership of things. And this was a character arc this character had throughout the story of Strahd, where they learned, oh, hey, I shouldn't do that. Oh, hey, this is a bad situation I don't get into. But you have to get into those situations to learn those things, unfortunately. So there's one town I don't remember all the names of the towns in Barovia, but there's one town that has a very ominous, very obviously evil place to go to that's like on a hill and it looks down in the city.
That's Kresk.
Yes. And
the monastery, I believe.
We were staying there, and my character was very curious, and I believe what I said was, I want to go explore the very ominous-looking building. It looks exciting. And everybody went to bed. I made a stealth check, and I left the camp. So the party was me, the rogue. We had a artificer, cleric. The dynamic of the artificer and cleric was mom and dad to me. They would get into an argument, and I would always leave when they would argue. And then we had 2 bards. So the 2 bards did not wake up when I left. The other 2 did wake up when I leave. So they joined me as I go up into this area, which turns out was supposed to be a dungeon for us to run through together as a party. I definitely went in, and the DM, I could tell, was kind of scrambling because I don't think he expected me to just go in. But it turned into, he gave us a tour of the facility. We met all the creatures, and I had lovely interactions with everything. The problem here, and this is why I'm asking, am I the asshole? This was an hour of game time. The bards were asleep, sitting there at the table, not role-playing, not playing, not joining us. And I have thought about this moment many times. Like, for me, the 3 of us there, we had a great time. I had a very defining character arc moment in there where I'm like, this guy's making me really uncomfortable. And I look at the artificer, I'm like, can we go home? And we leave. By the way, this girl's like 17, very young, so never had parents, kind of a thing. So it worked out in the case of the story. But I'm left sitting here thinking, those poor bards. And they ended up leaving the game. One of them didn't enjoy playing, and one of them was the boyfriend of that player, and just, I think, went with them.
Okay.
I honestly think the boyfriend could have stayed with us, but the girlfriend was very type A, so very much like, I'm not doing it, and I don't think he wanted to fight that. So again, okay. I beseech you, am I the asshole for separating the party for an hour's worth of game time, possibly leading to bards leaving the party because of it? I will say, as a side note, we did ultimately finish that campaign. We beat Strahd with the power of a very high charisma check, and I brought an army of revenants with me, and turns out they have spite damage, and it was great.
Yep.
I'll do it.
I have one clarifying question I would like to ask before I pass judgment. Do you have any evidence that this is one instance of splitting the party that it's the only time that happened?
Yes. I made sure to never do it again.
At least that you caused it, at least. Mm-hmm. Do you have any evidence that the other people left the game because of this situation?
No.
This is just your own personal feelings on it. Okay.
It's just what I've seen, like, as somebody that, I went to school for psychology. I'm the idea is that I can kind of read people's, like, body language and everything. I've never brought it up with the DM or anything, and they've never said anything to me about it, but it's just in the back of my head. I try to be good, and this was pretty early on in my game, like, player phase, so it was me learning how to be a better player too. It was before I really inundated myself in the Adventuring Academy series and just kind of got better as a player and as a DM. But
yeah,
I also, I don't want to say that was my line of thought, but I do know I was borderline. This is what my character would do, and I hate that. So I hope that's not where my head was at. But my character was very curious and role played it out, and it's just what I want to know. Was I the asshole?
So if you are in the town that I think you were in, how many sessions in roughly do you think this was at this time?
Maybe 3 or 4. Like,
oh, okay.
Well, it was early. It was a little earlier on and it was the only time they played with us. They stepped in, they played, and then they left.
And okay, so then I would definitely say that did not lead to them leaving the party. I think they just didn't like the game. Maybe Strahd was too dark for them. Maybe they just didn't like D&D, or at the time they didn't care for it, what have you. I would say that you didn't... I'm going to pass judgment. I'm going to be harsh about it. You're not the asshole. The DM was the asshole in this situation. And I'll tell you why. I've run Strahd several times, and I've run several games with split parties. And my personal playstyle, I feel I'm very good at being able to change scenes if the party does split. I feel like for this scene, yes, the bards were sleeping, but it's Strahd, it's Barovia, there's magic all over the place. They could have had some shared dream sequence to keep them engaged at the table while you're off with mom and dad doing your stuff over here. It's not an ideal situation, but it's a situation that, like, you didn't get into like a big fight and your characters didn't die because of it. You went and discovered a little bit of extra lore that you then, presumably, if the bards had stuck in the party, would have looped them in with the next game. And also, an hour isn't that big of a deal. I'm going to say no, you were not the asshole. The DM is the asshole in this situation because they should have been able to switch the scenarios.
Yeah, we just recently actually published a highlight from my interview with Brennan about this, about switching scenes, and it is on the DM to do to feel like what's going on in the table, to understand if a scene switch is needed or not. And I feel like if that sequence took an hour, it's not on you that it took an hour. It's the DM that did the storytelling here and brought you to those places. And they should have thought about what's happening with the other players around the table. It's not on you. You're not the asshole.
Yeah. So when you originally brought up the fact that you were playing as a Kender, I was like, ooh, are we going to get an old school Kender story? No, it wasn't that. So it's the newer Kender, which they got rid of the kind of the bad stuff where, what was it? Like, Kender used to have no sense of ownership, so your stuff was mine and vice versa.
Yeah, in the Dragonlance series, they just walk around pocketing things like absentmindedly is what they phrase it as.
And there were players who played the more toxic version of that, where player character stuff is also mine, and they would just pocket other player character stuff. So at first I thought we were going to go into that territory, but you did it. You brought it way back. An hour. How long is a typical session? Let me ask this first.
That group was roughly 4 hours per session.
An hour is nothing. An hour is nothing. There are times when someone wants to have a long talk with, like, I don't know, maybe a father figure in the game or something. That could take up to an hour, and everyone else is just watching this guy talk to his father. It's nothing. It's you have to be invested in your other player's story as well as your own. I will
100% that
yeah.
exactly, yes.
And so it's like you don't have to be fully invested, but understand that have some investment. You're going to be here and everyone's telling a story. So it's like, and for this situation where it's like you went off and did a mini dungeon or something while your DM could do anything in the world to wake up other party members and magically, it's Barovia. There's all sorts of vampire stuff to make up and say, and stuff's happening over here if you want to go check it out and bring the party over. So it's like if the DM wanted to have this short 1 hour adventure with you and a smaller group, then that's the DM ran it that way, and it's seemingly no one else really had a problem with it. I'd say perfectly fine. I would say in my own that Tomb of Annihilation game, I was way worse. I was like level 7 of the Temple of the Nine Gods, and I split the party. I went off on a solo adventure. The DM also gave me a Chaos God that it like was inside a magic wand, and I had to roll saves to not do what the Chaos God wanted. But the DM never asked me to roll a save because I just did what the Chaos God wanted. That's what the character would have done anyways. Like I was a new player there and I was fully into that. So I was like, I split the party. I got captured, beat down to 0 HP and tossed in a prison for it. And that's how it happened. But the other players weren't that mad. They were a little angry with me. I'll admit. I shouldn't be able to back. So I've done worser things in that game. I lost 3 player characters in that one. It was Tomb of Annihilation is designed to kill player characters, though.
Yeah, it's a meat grinder.
Yeah, so but yeah, so it's like there are worser things where it's like even, and that was me on the kind of on the fence of like, oh, my players might push me over because they're annoyed. So you're fine. That was fine. An hour is fine, and the fact that it never really happened again, you're fine. I don't think you were. That's just playing the game. It worked out that way. The DM catered to it as well, so.
Yeah, ultimately it's in the hands of the DM to steer the story. If the players are doing something that doesn't align with the story or something they don't want, like the DM could have thrown in a pack of werewolves in front of the creepy place to like say, hey, as like a clear indicator of don't go here. There's 12 werewolves here. Go back to bed. Or like Hendrik said, a guard could have seen you sneaking out with your parents and alerted the rest of your party. There are a dozen things I could think of right now that could have changed that from being a split party to a group party. But it also seems like that moment you had for your character was also a big like character growth where you're like, oh, my actions have consequences. We're now in this scary place and I don't want to be here anymore. Can we please leave? Yeah. I feel like that was also a good thing that happened because that situation you got into, you recognized in character your actions have consequences.
Yes, when I play characters, character growth informs next level selections. So this was a rogue that went into fighter because they wanted to be able to defend themselves further on as they got cursed by witches and things like that. They didn't want to have to rely on the mom and pops. They wanted to rely on themselves more. So that's where that art comes in. It's how I always play my characters.
I'm currently running Curse of Strahd in my local shop, and we started with 5 players. We're now down to 4 due to personal scheduling conflicts. But the player that left, it ended up working out well because he kept splitting. So you made the mention of this is what my character would do being bad. What your character did there was fine for the most part. He did more of the way I was planning to have a talk with him about his play style. And then he was like, oh, I need to leave the game forever. So I didn't have to have that conversation, but
forever.
Yeah, he was splitting the party by sneaking out at night in Barovia, and I tried to give him warning signs. The first time he did it, he got attacked by a vampire. It was Strahd. But his passive perception was so low that he never saw who attacked him. He just got bit in the neck, drained of all his blood, and woke up in a shallow grave.
Oh, wow.
A few nights go past, he sneaks out again, gets bit by a vampire, and this time his just bloodless body is left on the steps to the inn. He doesn't even get buried this time. So then, like, I'm trying to explain to him in game, like, your actions have consequences. If you keep sneaking out at night at a town that you know is ruled over by a vampire lord, something bad is going to happen to you.
You're
The
nicer
third
than me.
time
I
he
would have
got
killed him on the
bit,
second time.
he got turned into a vampire spawn. So now if he does want to come back, the party is going to attack him and probably kill him.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's what his character would do, and that's what their characters would do, is fight off a vampire spawn.
I love how sometimes players need insight checks into themselves.
Yeah, for real. It was, and I this was so Hendrik mentioned, oh, I would have killed him after the second time. The only reason I didn't do that is because this is his first game that he's playing in. So I was
Fair.
trying to be a little more protective, and like coddle him a little bit, but I was very clearly like, if you're going to do this, this is what's going to happen. Oh, you did this? All right, well then this is what happens.
Yeah, I just put him in a shallow grave. That's the most like, hey, you're gonna die if you do this twice.
I thought
And
it
then
was
they did
really
twice,
cool,
it's
and the
like-
other players at the table were like, he's in a what now?
Yeah, like that's for me. That's like, look, I already put you in a grave, and now I'm putting you down permanently. Is the second like that was first warning was all I need. I don't care if you're a new player. It's like, look, you chose this twice. You
Yeah.
chose this twice. I put the greatest metaphor for what's gonna happen, and now we're just gonna make the metaphor real.
Yep.
That's
Back in
me.
the same
I'm a
grave.
little harsh around sometimes.
Yeah, so thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you to our esteemed panel of judges here. If you agree, disagree, please leave a comment on if the person in the situation was the asshole, or are we the ones that were the assholes all along the way. And if you have your own personal story you want to share, we can pass judgment on that as well, perhaps in a round 2. Until then, we'll see you guys later. Thanks for joining us.
The real assholes, the people we meet
See ya.
along the way.